As I was saying, as an offensive player, they want to attack the front foot. The reason being is, in a correct defensive movement, as you open up to guard the defense, to guard the offensive player going to your right, to his left, you have to pick up this foot, pivot, drop step, and then slide. I always said, you have to protect the basketball. So if he's not protecting the basketball, I can flick at the basketball. So you look for that.
Turnover. Brown. Denied by Scotty. How about that on the way up? Never quit.
Yo, what's good, y'all? What is good? We're talking about the OKC Thunder. We're talking about the Toronto Raptors, and we're talking about what the Raptors do defensively that is so cool and what they're building towards. Now, I want to pull this off for a second, and big shout outs. Quick. Isaac Tanner, shout outs, becoming a new member. Apex Glass On, big shout out, becoming a VIP member. Shout outs to you. Oak Tree 34, shout you out before, but welcome to member. And Low Gray, please let me know if it's Law Gray or Low Gray, but shout out to you for becoming a member. We got to talk about the Toronto Raptors defense, man, because the Toronto Raptors post All-Star break last year were a dominant defense, top 5 in the league, top 2, and a lot of people have made it out to be a matter of weak schedule, weak competition, blah, blah, blah. Nah, man. No, everyone plays the same teams. And while I understand that that's a part of it, it's a really small part of it, because the Toronto Raptors last year came in with this philosophy of MIG, and they played a lot of scrappy man-to-man defense with super high pickup points. Early in the season, they had the highest pickup point, which means they were picking guys up at half court. Now, I'll say this. I brought this up in the last live, but defense is fundamentally misunderstood. So I'm going to try to explain it through film. Hang on one second. As a gifted member, I can't buy membership. Am I missing something, chat? I don't think you can. I will address the membership kerfuffle with YouTube a little bit later. Shout outs to Brian Macon. Shout outs to you, sir. Shout outs to the Gem and everything you're doing with Scotty this offseason. Looks great. Can't wait to see it. People are going to be eating a lot of crow, as they always are. So they started out with this thing called MIG, right? And early on, it looked horrible, right? The Raptors were like the worst defense. Everyone calling for Darko's head. And really, what they were doing was they were putting in the foundation, right? Darko literally went as far as to have to explain this to the media. And he's like, you can't have a house without a foundation. Well, you can't have a good defense if guys can't stay in front of the basketball. You just can't. And I think it's lazy coaching at the professional level that will sometimes insulate guys against their weaknesses defensively. Now, obviously, everybody has weaknesses defensively. Even Scotty, your best defender, has weaknesses defensively. By putting guys in a very unsophisticated scheme, which basically amounts to every man for himself early in the season, I think you were able to not only learn a lot about which of your players can actually stay in front of their man, but also teach the guys who can't that you're going to get embarrassed routinely. We're not going to help you. We're not going to hide you. We're not going to insulate you. We're not going to protect you. No, it's on you. It's on you to do this. And I think, at least, whether you're talking about the Detroit Pistons 04, you're talking about the early 90s, late 80s Pistons, you're talking about the mid 90s Chicago Bulls, whatever great defense you want to reference, even when you want to reference, like the 08 Celtics, some of the greatest defenses of all time. Or if you want to talk about the 2025 OKC Thunder, who broke all sorts of records, and we're going to go into the film in terms of how they did it, you really can't do anything if guys can't stay in front of the ball, because that's the first line of defense, right? If I'm a point guard, right, and I'm just inconsistent, I'm not even at the right spot. I can't even contain the basketball. This is a tried and true proven thing about the NBA. No one person can really stop anybody defensively consistently. It's really hard. Maybe the Alex Caruso's, maybe occasionally on certain matchups you can get a stop, but consistently, you're not shutting down superstars at the NBA level. You got to work on a team scale. We're going to look at how the OKC Thunder do this. I'm going to be out of here by 10 o'clock, so I'm going to be on playback at 10 o'clock, but let's let's keep this film session relatively brief and very meaty. Okay. So, one of the main things that the OKC Thunder do here now, what is happening with Lou Dort reaching into the passing lane, something he does routinely. And frankly, he's a great man defender, and Shea is actually really good at doing this himself. What Lou Dort is doing is impossible if Shea is not in place. What Shea is doing is impossible if Isaiah Hartenstein is not in place. What Isaiah Hartenstein is doing is impossible if J-Dub is not in place. So you really do need to teach defense at like almost a high school level when you're working at the professional level. I think a lot of people just assume you're supposed to know what you're supposed to know. But I do appreciate Darko taking the time to lay in the foundation. And when everyone is in place, you can do this. Now, the hallmark, boom, there you go. Now, this doesn't work if J-Dub's not there. This doesn't work if Shea is not there. And the gamble is completely uncalculated if Isaiah Hartenstein is not there. Now, obviously, everyone just chalks up what the OKC Thunder do to personnel. They just have great defenders. They do have great defenders. Not everyone can pull off what Alex Caruso does here. This level of anticipation, court mapping, his long arms, Caruso was number 1 in the NBA last year in defensive EPM. Scotty was not actually that far behind. He was around number 14, 15, and 10th among players who qualified at the 65 game mark. But here, Caruso is just going to get a tip. So the Thunder often make you feel like you're playing in jail. Like a lot of teams describe playing as Thunder as like we're playing 6-on-5 basketball. But I want you to see like how they do it because it is important. Watch. Now, again, watch how the other 4 defenders react to this drive by Anthony Edwards. Look at Isaiah Joe, not a good defender, coming over. Now, cuts off the right side. Notice how every other defender has moved in anticipation, right? Now, Edwards is not the greatest passer, so you're not necessarily playing him for like some Jokic level passing ability right now, right? You're playing him on the idea that he's going to continue to dribble, and now he's dribbled himself into a little bit of a corner. He's got 2 defenders, and boom, here comes the trap. You trap him. You force him to throw a pass. He's not naturally comfortable. And here comes Shea gapping the passing lane. Now, Shea gets a steal, right? Wiggins gets, some credit for stopping Ant. But it's really Isaiah Joe coming over at the exact time that creates that turnover. Now, here we go. Here again. Just playing solid man-to-man. But here, by offering that little bit of support into the gap, you're almost forcing the defender to go the other way. And you're making that driving lane so congested, right? And here comes that turnover. Once again, now here, watch this. Now, this is a mismatch right there, right? Like we saw that. Al Horford had a smaller defender sealed in the post. But that smaller defender, even though he is slight of frame, and this is absolutely a mismatch, that smaller defender does have an advantage, which is that he has a 7-foot wingspan, which is, by the way, an advantage that a lot of Raptors players also share. And this activity level of Shea is why I notoriously said Luka Doncic could not survive in the OKC defensive scheme, because Luka is not this committed. He's not this good. He's not this committed. Now here comes. Now here's a screen coming for Derek White, right? Boom. Easy switch. No advantage. No advantage. Getting Lou Dort on you is an advantage? How is that an advantage? You go from Jalen Williams to Lou Dort. Are you really at an advantageous situation? Now, Jaylen Brown does this correctly. Like he's reading this perfectly. But look at those long arms come into play again, right? Just, they read the situation so well. It's like you're up against the shot clock. He's going to have to either put up a Hail Mary at the rim with a dominant point of attack defender on him, burly, strong defender, right? And I think that that's something that the Raptors defenders, especially the ones that they just drafted, have in common with the OKC Thunder. Now let's take a look at some of the Raptors defenders, because they've drafted a lot of these guys over the last 2 cycles. And I think that it's important to realize that the Raptors are not oblivious to what the OKC Thunder are doing. And obviously, when you win a championship playing this way, you're going to have some copycats. Look at Elijah Martin. Look at Jonathan Mobo. Look at Collin Murray-Boyles. The first thing I think when I think of those three players is those three players would play in OKC really well. Okay, here, now watch Jonathan Mobo here. Here's Scotty Barnes. Now, all these first few plays are going to be centered around these two players because I think they are your two best defenders. And by far, like last year, I think they were your two best defenders. You could throw Jakob Poeltl in there as well, but it's really those three guys. So watch how they blow this play up. This is supposed to be a simple pass, right? It's supposed to be a dribble handoff. Scotty keeps his hands in the way. And now this defender has picked up his dribble and he is out of options, right? And Scotty continues to deny Siakam the basketball here. This is against Indiana in the in-season tournament. Now, this defender does not have like a great angle. But why doesn't he have a great angle? Look at those long arms by Mobo, right? Look at how Mobo and Scotty are just denying this entire thing. And now you're forcing them to go to Miles Turner, who, by the way, isn't really a good post player despite being 6'11". So you're forcing them away from what they want to do into something they desperately don't want to do. And in the process of trying to make this calculus, boom, here comes that active hand, and boom, we're in transition. If you're not a great half-court offensive team, which the Raptors were not last year and probably project to not be that great this year, kind of helps to get out in transition. Here, now watch Scotty against Fred VanVleet. Now, great screen. Scotty gets lost a little bit, right? But this ability to recover is a hallmark of OKC's defense. This long arm pursuit from rear, making you uncomfortable here. Reading the scouting report, knowing that Fred VanVleet was going to go this way. Now, why did Fred VanVleet go this way? This is a low IQ basketball play by Fred VanVleet. Number one, either shoot that basketball or two, don't go back to Scotty. Your best defender is 34 feet away from the basket. Go to the basket. Kelly Olynyk's he's not a good defender at the rim. So this is kind of a mistake by Fred, and Scotty is going to perfectly capitalize here. Boom, steal. Interesting. Continuing on, once again, Jonathan Mobo. You can see Grady Dick is involved in this, and it doesn't really matter. It's not that complicated. It's the Charlotte Hornets, right? And here, once again, Davion helping in the gap, and this is why you help in the gap, is because you make things hard for the defense, for the offense, and boom, that Davion bit of help there allows Jonathan Mobo to swipe down and get the steal. Now here comes Scotty, right? That's Giannis. That's Giannis Antetokounmpo, the immovable object, such a force, such a strong body. And he just bump. And here comes Emmanuel Quickley, one of the weaker defenders on the team. And this is where I think weaker defenders like Quickley, RJ, Grady can help because they all have really long arms. You technically have weak defenders. Yes, you do. You do have Grady. You do have RJ. You do have Emmanuel Quickley. These are not the strongest defenders. Even I could say like a Jamal Shed, even though there's a lot of pursuit and a lot of motor, he's not the strongest defender. But they're not useless defensively. They're not quite to the levels of Anthony Simons or Trae Young. They still have long arms. And if they lock in, guys like Brandon Ingram, guys like RJ Barrett can participate within a really solid, good top 5 defensive scheme. Here Quickley is going to pursue. And in this sort of thing that we just saw, like with OKC, right? We saw OKC, they forced Anthony Edwards into this Hail Mary pass. And here is another way that RJ Barrett can participate in the defense and Grady Dick can participate in the defense and Emmanuel Quickley in the passing lanes. So if you can create enough pressure with Yak and Scotty or Scotty and CMB or CMB and Mobo or Ochai and Scotty, if your two dominant defenders can create enough pressure, then your other 3 defenders can participate in the team scheme, which is to say they can be weak side shot blockers. We're going to see Grady get a block. They have long arms. They can pick the passing lanes. They can do stuff. And worst case, the Raptors are a good defensive rebounding team. That's a really big part of defense that people don't talk about enough. And I'm really sick of it because last I checked, a defensive possession does not end without a rebound. So you do need that rebound. Now here comes RJ into that passing lane. He gets the steal on the box score to the box score casual who won't watch the game. That's a steal for RJ Barrett. But RJ Barrett probably deserves like 8% to 10% of the actual credit for creating that steal. That steal comes down to Scotty Barnes containing Giannis, Emmanuel Quickley pressuring Giannis, you see it's like a 3-person attack on the basketball, which is very OKC like. And please don't misconstrue anything I'm saying as to say the Raptors are about to break the record for the greatest defense of all time. That's really not what I'm saying. I'm saying the attempt is there. The personnel is at least partially there. The idea, the archetypes are all there. And the number one thing that's there is you do have a dominant wing defender like Scotty Barnes in your starting lineup. Now here, cookies, right? This is Paolo Banchero. This is an all-star. This is some people think this guy's a top 10 player in the league. Scotty probably doesn't think that because he just picks him clean. Did this multiple times last year. Did it to Giannis. Did this to, and here, that's straight savage. Now here, Scotty gets clipped. Super high pickup point. Picking up 94 feet, dangerous, right? Because you leave a lot of real estate behind you, and the Raptors don't exactly have a Chet Holmgren back there to clean everything up. However, right, you do have pursuit laterally. You may not have the greatest defense vertically. You're not going to necessarily be able to do that, but you do have great lateral pursuit. And here, you're going to see Grady Dick, right? Now, Grady Dick on Paolo is not a good matchup for the Raptors, but Grady is big. It's not small. He's big. And he's able to use that length to contain, resist the drive, right? That's all you need to do. Really, when you're a weak defender, we do need a scheme to protect you. You cannot leave Grady in isolation against Paolo. He will die. So you do need to be able to cut something off. And here, Grady simply needs to follow a blueprint or a floor plan. Same with RJ, same with BI. Just force middle here, right? So he cuts off the other hand, forcing Paolo to show the basketball. And here comes that Alex Caruso, Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander pursuit, because the minute this ball is exposed, here comes that defender that you're not expecting from the weak side. Most players will not pursue this ball, but here comes Scotty pursuing this ball, and boom. Probably gets there a little bit late, but not so late that he can't get it. Here, once again, Scotty pursuing 94 feet gets clipped. And once again, he's going to try to pursue from behind. Again, this is the hallmark of the OKC defense. Rear pursuits. What does OKC really do to you? Let me explain it briefly before we continue with the film breakdown. OKC will throw 2 on the basketball very often, very comfortably. And then they will rotate when the pass goes out. And their bet, OKC's bet, is pressure forces uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable driving angles, uncomfortable shots, and frankly, uncomfortable clock situations, uncomfortable positioning on the court, uncomfortable everything. So their bet is that they can out-move the basketball. They can move the basketball, and because they are such avid pursuers and talented pursuers in the passing lane, they slow down the process of your offense. So you're consistently, when you watch teams play against OKC, they're always later into the clock. So continuing on, right, this idea of playing 6-on-5, really, why does it feel like you're always playing 6-on-5? Because you have 2 on you and nobody's really open. They cheat off of the guy, usually splitting because of their long arms. They're usually able to split the difference between the 2 weakest players on one side, and then they're able to switch everything. And you'll get a shot, but you'll have to pass 3 to 4 times through their long arms to get it. And then when the shot you get is probably not the one you wanted, which is to say, if you're Denver, let's just say it's not going to be a clean look for Jamal Murray. It's probably going to be a corner 3 for Peyton Watson. And this is a relentless commitment to the scheme by OKC. It's not simply, they just have a lot of talented defenders with really long arms and the greatest defense of all time. No, there is an actual genius to their coaching and a genius to their scheme, and they have the personnel to pull it off. Here, Ochai Agbaji gets clipped. Now here we got Damian Lillard going downhill on Jakob Poeltl. Not a good matchup for the Raptors. This is bad because Dame is a lot quicker than Jakob. But when I say this, please hear me. This is not Dame versus Jakob. This is actually Dame versus Scotty. Really, that's what it is. Now, if Dame pulls up here, he's just refusing to meet Scotty at the rim. But the goal of Dame right now should be to beat Yak off the dribble. So if Jakob can just offer enough pressure, it's going to send Dame downhill, at which point Scotty will be facing a 2-on-1 with Dame and Giannis, at which point Jakob will have to recover back into the play. The whole thing works on a string. But here, Dame is going to beat Yak off the dribble very easily. Yak is not, 2019 Yak where he's super fleet of foot. He gets beat off the dribble like this all the time. But here, because Yak is a smart player, look at him still sort of pursuing. He's not lazy. He doesn't just give up. When you get beat, rear contest, man, poke at the basketball from behind. Now here, Scotty is cutting off that passing angle to Giannis. Like he's got the long arms, makes it uncomfortable. So Dame is going to try to just kind of makes a brain fart, really. You're wide open, make the shot. But if Dame starts to pursue like a jump shot here instead of a pass to Giannis, Scotty's probably long enough and tall enough to block it. So here, he's going to throw this up. Giannis gets it. Bad shot. Now here, watch the discipline here. Now, right now, Grady is sort of doubling in the post, right? And this is another thing you notice with OKC. They don't double needlessly, which is to say, when they have a favorable matchup in an isolation, they're not going to double because they like to double. They're not stupid. They're not a stupid defensive team. They don't foul a lot. They don't make a lot of senseless gambles. So if you have Nikola Jokic in the post on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they'll double that. But if they have Christian Brown versus Jalen Williams in the post, they're not going to try and double that down. They'll play that straight up. And here, Grady Dick is going to recover back to the shooter intelligently and leave Scotty one-on-one against Giannis on the block. They're comfortable with this. They've discussed this before. If this situation occurs, leave Scotty one-on-one against Giannis. We trust that it's not going to be an easy shot for Giannis. And they are correct. Because here, Scotty is going to use his friend, the baseline here, and he is going to force Giannis into a very uncomfortable shot. Couple pump fakes, doesn't matter, blocks him at the rim. Show that to people who think Scotty Barnes isn't a great defender. Here, Colin Castleton, not a great defender in space. Offensive player notices that, but here comes Scotty from behind. Most people are not comfortable dealing with rear pursuits like this, and Scotty is really good at this. Watch this. Boom. Defender does not see it, and here, that attack. The differentiation between OKC's defense and most defenses I've seen is OKC's defense is proactive as opposed to reactive, and the Raptors defense last year when it was going right was very proactive as opposed to reactive. Here we go. Again. Here. Now, switch, right? RJ Barrett is recovering to the corner. Now, what would very often happen with a Charlotte Hornets or a Washington Wizards or just generally any bad team is this is going to be a simple kick out, right? And it's going to go straight to the shooter and the shooter's going to hit. But here, Scotty sees this play developing. He knows that at worst case, if RJ gets to the corner shooter, right here, look at Scotty's motion. He's already recovering to the shooter. He's already recovering to the next pass, which is, again, another thing that OKC does very well. Okay, here. Now, knowing the clock situation, knowing that Jakob Poeltl is right there behind him, if he misses this, he decides to run him off the line and or block the shot. Boom. Bye-bye, Dennis Schroeder. Okay, now here. This is supposed to be something that a defense wants to do. They want the 2-4 switch so that the 2 can attack the 4, who's typically not fleet of foot. Big mistake here because Jalen Green probably had a better chance of scoring on Jacoby Walter than he did on Jonathan Mobo. This is a mistake. And Jalen Green, not the smartest player. So he's going to make this mistake 10 times out of 10. Don't worry. He's not even going to remember he made this mistake. I remember he made this mistake. So here, you see Jacoby kind of helping in the gap. So what is he doing there? He's forcing. They're forcing a drive left, right? Makes things a little bit more predictable. Now, Jalen Green doesn't want to split this double team. Long arms, good defenders. So he's going to go the other way. I can guarantee it. Now, open up your hips, move with him, shade him, play him for the shot. Don't jump. Don't jump on the pump fake. And here, too small. Too small. Scotty Barnes is right there. Ochai Agbaji is right there. He has absolutely zero passing angles. If he tries to pass this to Dylan Brooks, it's going to get stolen. So he's caught himself into a corner. What OKC does really well is what the Raptors do really well here, which is they really corner bad decision makers into making bad decisions. And that's how they rack up 21 steals per game. Boom. You'll be surprised to know that the greatest defense of all time didn't actually even lead the league in blocks last year. It's not the blocks with OKC, it's the pursuit of the ball on a horizontal plane. That's how they do it. It's not all vertical action. That defense sustained major absences by Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. Didn't miss a beat. Here's a guy who you might not be thinking about necessarily as a great shot blocker, but he's actually a pretty good one. And that's Collin Murray-Boyles. You just drafted him, right? I would love like for you to go and just check out. Like I would have loved to talk about Elijah Martin in this as well, but honestly, he's probably not going to play for the Raptors. It doesn't feel very like it doesn't make a point to do it. But right now, you're probably going to have Jonathan Mobo and Collin Murray-Boyles coming off your bench with Jacoby Walter, and I think that those three can wreak havoc, especially if they're also accompanied by either Scotty or Ochai. Like if you can put those players together, if you can put those pieces together, I'm not saying you're OKC because you definitely don't have Chet, but you're some version of OKC with those four players. And in the Eastern Conference, honestly, apart from Orlando, who's a better defense? I mean, a lot of other defenses have like major weak links, right? Like I'm expecting New York to be a pretty good defensive team this year. There's reasonable belief for that. Mitchell Robinson is healthy. OG Anunoby looks good. But I mean, like the Raptors could be better. They could be better defensively than them, right? They have this. Like they have this, they have the personnel to do this. They have these long arms. They have these active defenders. They have strong bodies, right? Like why do you want the Lou Dort archetype? Get through screens, man. Get through screens, get around screens, guard the post. Like you think that Nikola Jokic, being guarded by Lou Dort in the post. We've seen Scotty slow down Jokic, haven't we? Yes, we have. We've seen OG slow down Jokic. Jokic doesn't have like a lot of rhythm against players who are that quick with their hands. He's used to going up against the Zubats of the world and the Nikola Vucevic's and even the Joel Embiid's. And I'm not saying like, yeah, go run Scotty and Jonathan Mobo out there against Nikola Jokic one-on-one 30 times a game, find out what's what. No, I understand that's a bad matchup. But once in a while, it can throw the offensive player off rhythm. And I do think that Collin Murray-Boyles is a very disruptive player when it comes to rhythm of the offensive player. You really don't know what it's like to be guarded by this guy, bro. But I talked to a couple people who played Division I basketball against him. Well, it was like last year before like he pulled out of the draft. And they were just like, I thought I was seeing stars, bro. Like, it's scary, man. It's scary. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it is a very scary defensive player. Like, he really doesn't get off balance. He doesn't jump very high, but he has long arms, quick hands, quick hips. He's like physical as fuck. He is super smart, anticipating your moves. He maps the court defensively perfectly. He's active in the passing lanes. You beat him, you bump him, you think you got a spot, you coming up for your shot, boom, he put it down. He is a defensive beast prospect. Like him, Carter Bryant, Cooper Flag, like those three guys for me are like probably all defensive type of prospects. Like those three guys. Come on, has a chance for sure. My friend over on the panel, John D, was calling Kaman Malawach like defensive generational type of prospect. I really don't feel that way about Kaman Malawach defensively. I don't think he's as good defensively as Collin Murray-Boyles. I think what CMB did last year with South Carolina is way harder than than the job that frankly any defender had to do in the country last year. And not to make it all about Scotty and on the Raptors, like not to make it all about Scotty and Mobo. Here's RJ Barrett and Jacoby Walter participating a little bit, right? Like again, I say this. Nothing matters if the guy who's guarding the basketball doesn't do his job. Now here, Jacoby Walter is physically outmatched against Franz Wagner, but because he is able to keep distance between Wagner and where he wants to go, he's able to offer just enough resistance. Here, RJ is able to help, right? You got Orlando Robinson in good help position here. You've got Jamal Shed kind of cutting off the other, passing angle. Now, obviously, if Franz Wagner whips this over to Corey Joseph, you live with the results. But Kojo is not Steph Curry. So you're not exactly like in a bad place right now. Like worst case, what's going to happen is Jonathan Isaac or Paolo Banchero are going to get an open three. That's kind of what you're playing him for. You're either playing him for a drive to the basket on against 3 defenders. And Franz is awesome player, awesome defender. I'm always surprised when I'm encountering an NBA fan that doesn't respect this guy's game. It's really good at getting downhill. So this doesn't really this is not a bad move by Franz Wagner. He's doing exactly what he's designed to do, what he's comfortable doing. The difference is he's not comfortable necessarily with RJ Barrett poking at the ball here and Jacoby applying the type of pressure to his hip and pushing him away. And just giving the offensive player a lot to think about here, right? And it's going to result in Jacoby just ripping the basketball. RJ does not touch the basketball. RJ doesn't get a steal. RJ doesn't do anything according to the box score casuals. But in my opinion, RJ is the reason, remember before when RJ gets that steal and I said he deserved 8 to 10% of the credit for that steal? Him closing the gap on that driving angle and making Franz's life a little bit harder, in my opinion, he probably deserves 35% credit for that steal. He gets 0 credit on the box score, but and relentless pursuit there by Jacoby Walter. And here, Jacoby, everybody is doing their job here, right? The scheme is perfect. You got Alex Caruso in the corner, not a great shooter. You've got 2 on the ball, right? Which typically is what OKC does, right? They'll throw 2 on the ball in the post, swarm the post, right? When there's a mismatch. Chet is 7 feet tall, right? If Mobo and Walter don't make this hard on him, he is going to have a very easy time scoring on just one Jacoby Walter. And so Mobo is here pursuing the basketball, and you got Jacoby here kind of disrupting the dribble, right? You got Ochai there cutting off a passing lane. You got Jamal Shed on the other side, and then you got Jamison Battle doing his job trying to box out, sort of pre-boxing out Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, if Chet puts this up, do I expect Jamison Battle to continue boxing out? Nah, maybe not. But right now, this is about as good as you can play this, right? And once again, Chet's not Luka Doncic. He's not a great passer, right? He's a good passer. He's not a great passer. He's thinking about the skip pass across the corner to Alex Caruso. Caruso's calling for it. Mobo sees this. And Jacoby is able to contest. Why? Up against the clock, Mobo is cutting off the lane, cutting off the passing lane enough. There's not a good enough option to try to risk the pass to the corner. Backs off a little, thinks he has Jacoby in a favorable situation. And look, because Mobo is able to help push Chet a little bit out, because Jacoby is able to do his job, because everybody else is kind of in their place and doing their job, Jacoby is able to actually compete defensively here. And I don't think that necessarily is fair to make a 1-for-1, say, if Grady or RJ were here, they would do the same thing, but they could. They realistically could. You could help them enough to make them competent. And Jacoby required a lot of help here. But again, if you just watch this play in isolation, you say, Chet got stopped by Jacoby. Did he really, though? Did he really? Are you blind? That's not what happened, right? Mobo did a lot of work there. Here, look at that. Now, pull that back for a sec. This pass coming right here. A little dangerous. Jacoby has his arm extended out. Doing what? Making the passer uncomfortable. Emmanuel Quickley is here. Physical. Making the reception of this pass harder. And it forces what? Emmanuel Quickley picking off the pass, and boom, there's your fast break. For a team that is often starved for offense, this is how you get an additional 10 to 12 points every single game. And in games that are often decided by 3-4 points, the Raptors lost a lot of games by 2-3 points last year. These extra points count. An extra point that was just saved there by the so-called non-defender, Grady Dick. Again, Grady's a good athlete. He's very coordinated. He's not very strong. Emmanuel Quickley, very good athlete. Very fast. Very long. Not very strong. Jacoby, very quick. Very wiry. Very persistent. High motor. Not very strong. So what do you think they told these 3 guys when they went into their off season? Get in the fucking gym. That's what they told them. And they did. They're going to come back stronger. You'll see. Here, Grady. Trying to cut off Giannis. Brave, right? Him doing his job here, right? Attention to detail. You're not shutting down Giannis one-on-one. Him doing his job allows for Jakob Poeltl to do his job. It takes two. But watch the highlight. Watch the commentary. Jakob Poeltl shut down Grady. Jakob Poeltl shut down Giannis Antetokounmpo at the rim. Not exactly how it happened. It works on a string. OKC works on a string. Here, Emmanuel Quickley is about to get screened off here. Pursues from behind. Continues to pursue. And with that long left arm, right? The right arm is on the ball handler. The left arm is pursuing the passing lane, cutting off this little pass here to Walker Kessler, which would be a surefire dunk. Boom. Pursue the passing lane, right? Now here, Davion Mitchell, one of the best pressure defenders in the NBA, picked up 94 feet regularly for the Raptors. This is before the Raptors season really turned a corner defensively. Here, Davion is going to pursue Steph Curry from behind. Jakob Poeltl cutting off middle. Trace Jackson Davis rolling to the basket. Grady is in place to help. Stunt. Just enough for Jakob Poeltl to get back into the play. If Grady doesn't do that, it's probably a wide open dunk. Grady doing that creates the shape-shifting defense that we're talking about with OKC. Here we go. Now here, Jamal Shed on Chris Middleton. Is this a mismatch? Read it for yourself. If you're watching it later, tell me, is Jamal Shed on Chris Middleton 26 feet from the basket a mismatch? No, it's not a mismatch yet. You don't need to help yet. Because right here is not where Chris Middleton is dangerous at this age. Maybe 5 years ago, you might actually want to start thinking about helping right here. But it's not who Chris Middleton is right now. I'm not saying he can't pull up and hit this shot. I'm just saying it wouldn't be a great shot for him. Right now, what Chris Middleton is probably thinking is, if I can clear out the left side, like what we watched with Scotty and Jimmy Butler in the previous breakdown that we did. If I can clear out the left side, I'm going to take the mouse in the house. I'm going to take the little guy. I'm going to put him in the post. I'm going to turn around mid post. Boom, fade away. Easy bucket. He's 6 feet tall. He can't stop me. Chris Middleton, right? Chris Middleton, a good 6'7". So what you want to do here is you want to avoid overreacting, right? Because if AJ Lawson overreacts, Bub Carrington back cut, boom, Jakob Poeltl is totally out of place. One of the important things of OKC's defense is floor balance. They maintain really good positioning defensively. We talk a lot about spacing offensively. We don't really talk very much about spacing defensively. Spacing defensively is just as important. Here, AJ Lawson is going to follow Bub Carrington. And it's at this point that the defense is starting to orient itself a little bit towards the pending danger or the looming danger that is Chris Middleton taking Jamal Shed to the chopping block for a mid-post turnaround. However, again, right now, not a threat. Jamal Shed is a good defender. Jamal Shed can get into his body, into his handle. He can pursue him. Again, it's not automatic. Like, everybody isn't a threat everywhere. If I'm guarding Shaquille O'Neal and we're 38 feet from the basket, sorry to tell you, that's not a mismatch for Shaq. That's actually a good place for me to be because I can just poke away at his handle. The minute we cross 15, 13 feet, now I'm screaming, help, help, help. So here, Jamal Shed is not in a bad situation right now yet. So knowing that Jakob Poeltl is right there, knowing that potentially AJ Lawson is there, knowing the floor balance behind him, which is the high IQ of a really good defensive guard in Jamal Shed, he is going to gamble. Pursue the basketball here. Now, if he gets lost, what happens? What happens if Jamal Shed mistimes this? This is all you have to think about when you're thinking about gambling defensively. We've seen a lot of silly gamblers in, Toronto Raptors history. Jacoby did a lot of gambling last year, quite frankly. Sorry to say, gambling. Gary Trent, relentless gambler, in the passing lanes, often finds himself out of position. If you're a fan of early 2000s basketball, Allen Iverson gambled like a crazy motherfucker. Kobe gambled a lot, right? However, gambling with a plan is a little bit better. Okay. Now, here, what's the worst thing that can happen? You mistime this, he puts you on his hip. You'll still pursue, and you've got two defenders in place. Understanding when you can and when you can't is another hallmark of OKC's defense. You will very rarely see them get undisciplined. They completely stick to their scheme. They know exactly what they're supposed to do at all times. And I think that that's what makes them so freaking dangerous, right? So, again, like to go back to a little bit of the OKC stuff, right? Like they know 100%. This is not a situation where they need to swarm the ball handler. They don't need to help. But if this is Steph Curry, they're playing this very differently. Different players, different tendencies, different reactions, right? But again, this idea of proactive defense with long arms, switchable defenders, multi-positional defenders, small ball, micro ball lineups. This is the kind of stuff that the Toronto Raptors can do next season, although not to the level of OKC yet. Maybe, just maybe, if there's a mid-season trade or something, which brings a dominant rim protector to Toronto, I wouldn't be surprised, especially if the players going out for that dominant rim protector happen to be the weaker defenders like RJ, Grady, etc. I really wouldn't be surprised if the Raptors are a top 2 defense, top 3 defense next year. I know this sounds very ambitious to some people. It actually sounds pretty ambitious to me as well. I don't necessarily think I don't think the Raptors are going to be a top 3 defense next year. I would be shocked if they're not at least a top 10 defense next year. The way this team has prioritized defense, the way they have taught defense, the way they have drafted for their defense, the types of defenders they have on their team, too much has gone right. Too much is already going right for this team. And there's too much talent defensively here between CMB, Scotty, Mobo, guys like this. There's so much length on the perimeter now with Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes. Like, you really think about how big this team is? Think about it. Brandon Ingram, 7'3" wingspan. Scotty Barnes, 7'4" wingspan. Collin Murray-Boyles, 7'1" wingspan. Jonathan Mobo, 7'2" wingspan. Jakob Poeltl, 7'4", 7'3" wingspan. You talking about some very, very, very big dudes. And even your small dudes are not small. Ochai Agbaji, 6'9" wingspan. Emmanuel Quickley, 6'9" wingspan. Jacoby Walters, 6'10" wingspan. Ochai Agbaji, 6'11". Grady Dick, 6'9". RJ, 6'9". Just long arms. You just have basketball players with like these long ass arms. And if you use this correctly, if you employ this correctly, if you teach them the right things, if you implement the right scheme, if they're disciplined, if they buy in, if they pursue it properly, if Brandon Ingram buys in, you have a chance to be a very scary defense. You have a chance to hold some teams to like 26 turnovers, 30 turnover games. You have a chance to hold some teams to 40-point halves. This is going to be a lot of fun, man. And it's a young team. It's a young team. And one of the things I'll also mention before I get out of here, because I do need to start a playback stream at 10 o'clock for Player's Choice, shout outs to Player's Choice, is sometimes you need depth to be this good defensively, right? OKC has a lot of depth. They play Kenrich Williams. I apologize, by the way. I called Aaron Wiggins Kenrich Williams in the film breakdown. I know someone's going to catch it at some point. I apologize. Kenrich Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Alex Caruso, sometimes Isaiah Hartenstein. You have so much talent coming off your bench. Case and Wallace. Like, you go 11, 12 deep. Darko showed a willingness last year to go 11 deep. I wouldn't be surprised if this year they go 10 deep. But some nights you might have to go 11 or 12 deep based on foul trouble. Use your fouls, right? Use your fouls. Use your pursuit. And if Jacoby, like Ochai, you know you're only going to be out there for 5 minutes, play balls to the wall for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And importantly, you have the tools to do it. You have the tools to do it. You have the anchors to do it. And while you don't have that Victor Wembanyama type stopper on the back, you don't have the Amen Thompson necessarily type of flashy defender up front. You don't have the steals rack up leader like a Dyson Daniels. What you have is guys who just have really long arms and are strong enough to keep their guys in front of them, committed enough to the defensive scheme to play within that defensive lineup. You have a big center who offers some resistance in the paint, even though he's not necessarily changing shots the way he used to and isn't quite fleet of foot. I really do think, like, if you swapped Jakob Poeltl for like Rudy Gobert or some shit like that, you the best defense in the Eastern Conference, and it's not close. So you're not far. You're not far. And if anything, the previous iteration of the Raptors showed me that they're not shy about changing out parts. They changed out Terrence Ross for Serge Ibaka. They changed out DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. They changed out Jonas Valanciunas for Serge Ibaka. Sorry, Jonas Valanciunas for Marc Gasol. And every single time they made a trade, they upgraded their defense. With every one of those trades, they upgraded their defense. Serge was a better defender. Mark was a better defender. Kawhi was a better defender. And right now, if you're looking at the Raptors, who are the two players that are most consistently talked about as being potentially available? Not the strongest defenders at all. In RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, Ochai Agbaji. Ochai is good. But if you do make a trade, let us pray that it is for a major defensive upgrade across the board or size upgrade somewhere. I think this team could be really good, man. Shout outs to the Canuck is here for becoming a YouTube member. We have 1 day. That's unfortunate. We have 1 day to fulfill our quota of 100 members. This quota is not necessarily mandated by anything. It's me just wanting to milk this opportunity to get $30 per subscriber from YouTube. So I'm gonna push it hard. You can look forward to one more live tomorrow, hopefully on something very deep, poignant, and useful. And you can also look forward to a members only video coming tomorrow. I am on playback right now, 10 p.m. watching a WNBA game. I'll be on until midnight. Shout out to Player's Choice. If you check us out on playback, if you want to watch a WNBA game with us, come join us there. And then at midnight, I will work on that video until 4 a.m. I will wake up tomorrow, post it, members only, and then I'll be on the panel at 11 a.m. So if you want to catch my thoughts on the state of the game, that's the subject of tomorrow's Player's Choice panel. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. is the state of the game, the Lamar Odom quote, do all teams kind of play bullshit brand of basketball, grenade basketball? We'll be discussing that and a whole lot more. So shout outs to all of you who tuned in. Shout outs to our VIP members and shout outs to all our new members. I'm going to talk to y'all later. Peace.